evening, everyone. Welcome to our Nurses Immunity Boost Challenge. I'm Dr. Charmaine Blake Woode of Diabetes and Endocrine Wellness Center and the Lighter Way in Huntsville, Alabama. My husband, Dr. Dwayne Woode, and I have lined up some amazing guest speakers for you this week during our Nurses Immunity Boost Challenge. We've got a wonderful team we're working with behind the scenes, and we've partnered to bring you this informative series of presentations. Starting tonight, 2020 has been the year of the nurse, or it has been called the year of the nurse. And that's because nurses have been thrown on the front line during this COVID-19 pandemic. They've been called on to make immeasurable sacrifices. Some have even given the ultimate sacrifice, that being their lives. We honor them, we celebrate them, and we're so grateful for their sacrifices. We hope that this 5-day series, this challenge, brings you invaluable information that's going to help you as nurses as you serve your patients better, and also help you safeguard your own health and your lives. We want to empower you with this information. Over the next 5 evenings, we'll be bringing different topics related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight, we'll have a nurse share her experiences and share how, as a leader in her organization, she supports her nurses and does what she can to take care of them the best way she knows how. During the remaining evenings, we will hear from an infectious disease specialist. We'll also hear from an allergist and immunologist. We'll be talking about transmission, prevention of COVID-19. We'll be talking about the body's immune response to COVID-19. We'll have a scientist who does research and who is in the process of developing therapeutics for COVID-19. We'll also talk about the vaccine that's being rolled out as we speak, and several thousands of people are expected to receive the vaccine in the next few days. So before we get started, though, we are asking that you share this information. This information is going to be transformative to so many of us, so don't keep it to yourselves. Even though we're celebrating and targeting nurses, this information is for everyone. So go ahead and hit that share button. Hit the share button. Tag your friends, tag all the nurses in your lives, and invite them to hear this presentation with you this evening. We've got some amazing giveaways this week. Starting tonight, we have a $50 gift card to it's a spa wellness card that you can use at multiple locations throughout our country. So some lucky winner is going to win that spa gift card. You do have to register, you have to share the video, and you have to engage with us tonight during this presentation. When you share any information in regards to our challenge, we want you to use 3 hashtags. Those are Team Destiny, Year of the Nurse, and Immunity Boost. So go ahead, start sharing and use those hashtags. So we've partnered with a few sponsors to bring you this series this week. First, we want to thank The Running Nurse. Our partner, Ruth Pouchet, has a program where she serves nurses from all over the world, nurses who are struggling with burnout. And she has a program where she walks them through self-care and just helping them take better care of themselves. We also want to thank Diabetes and Endocrine Wellness Center and the Lighter Way for helping to bring you this challenge this week. So if you're ready to get started, go ahead and put ready in the comments. Go ahead, type ready in the comments if you're ready to get started right now. Starting off our series this week, our Nurses Immunity Boost Challenge, we have Nurse Althea Mills. Althea Mills comes to us from Long Island, New York. She is the Chief Nursing Officer at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital in Long Island. She's a registered nurse with a background in medical, surgical, oncological, and emergency nursing. Prior to her present role as Chief Nursing Officer, Althea has served as the Administrative Supervisor and Director of Nursing Education. She is a native of Tobago, West Indies. She migrated to this country over 30 years ago. She's the wife and partner of a fellow nurse, and she is the mother to 2 adult children. Althea is very passionate about nursing and has been the biggest cheerleader and supporter for her nursing team throughout this COVID-19 experience. I know her to be a kind-hearted, generous individual. It's no surprise to those of us who know and love her that she has been recognized for her servant leadership during this time. Welcome, Althea. Thank you for joining us. We're so looking forward to what you have to share with us this evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you, Dr. Woode, Doctors Woode, for this kind introduction. And thank you for having me on this this illustrious program. I am a fan of this program, and I find it to be very helpful. You're very inspirational in all that you do, and I hope that whatever I say tonight will be very inspiring to others. I want to say hello, give a shout out to all the nurses that are out here hearing and supporting this program, because indeed, this is the year of the nurse. You know, 200 years ago, when Florence Nightingale was born, you know, and she eventually served during the Crimean War, she made a statement that one day nursing will rise to a point where they will be almost revered. And somehow in 2020, because it's her 200th birth year, the year 2020 was established as the year of the nurse. Now, when Florence said this, she didn't think about what was going to happen to us in 2020. But when I sit and think about what happened to all of us in 2020, I thought that she was prophetic indeed. I don't think that she knew exactly where our fame and or popularity would come from, but this has really allowed us, or allowed the public, allowed all our friends and family and everybody to see what nursing is all about. You see, I have to confess that when I sat during one of my moments during the COVID-19 crisis, and it was indeed said is the year of the nurse, the first thing that came to mind, I was sad, and I said, it took 200 years for the nation, for the world to acknowledge and to realize I should say what nursing is made up of, right? You know, nursing, it takes a very special person to be a nurse. I don't think that nurses are made, nurses are born, nurses are ordained. I see nurses as the personification of, you know, some divine entity that God has ordained, and I'm so proud to be a nurse that I'm actually, giving myself some chills now. God has ordained us. There are instances when He cannot be with human beings, and He wanted somebody very special to fill that space, especially that sacred space between life and death, or between health and illness. And when He looked around and He saw that the only person that could occupy that space, He called us a nurse. And 2020 and this COVID crisis has really proven that to all ends. You see, during my time of COVID-19, I mean, we all went to school to be nurses. I tell all my nurses, you went to school, you became a nurse. Some of us had 2 or 3 degrees around nursing, but never one day did we stop to think that a pandemic of this proportion will be challenging us. All of my team, I have to say, today are still alive. The team that I led. I know of many of my coworkers and friends in other institutions that did not make it through this time. One of the songs that I had, and I'm very religious, Dr. Woode knows that, one of the songs that I actually kept in my mind, and it took me back to in Pathfinder, when they would say, keep a song in your heart, go on God's errands. That is exactly what I did. It says, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide, hold me closely to His side. With love and strength for each new day, He will make a way. Indeed, God will make a way. And I kept that song very close to my heart because there were days when I didn't know what will come. I know that one morning in March, there was a mandate from the governor of New York. I'm in New York, for those of you who don't know. Right now, we're having a blizzard, and I'm at work because I decided to stay over to support my team. There are calls all over the place, and somebody has to fill that gap. So one morning, there was a mandate that the hospitals had to increase their capacity to first 50% and then to 100%. In some ways, we were threatened that if we could not make this a reality, then our licenses would be taken away. Immediately, my boss, the CAO of the organization, called me. We were looking at each other and we were wondering, we couldn't understand what they were trying to say. I mean, we have beds, we have space, we have offices, we have, public space. We're going to create a space for a patient. Well, it was my duty because, number one, I'm the woman, and number two, I'm the nursing leader. So I had to take care of patients. Patient care falls under my jurisdiction, after all. So I said, well, one of the things we have to do is to just get everybody out. Once your office had a bathroom, you were gone. So, immediately I became the enemy in the camp. I went around, I knocked on everybody's doors, and I said, do you have a bathroom? Yes. Okay, start packing. And we had to put people out of their offices, furlough some workers, give them, some people were able to work from home. Other people, we had to squeeze them in little makeshift areas somewhere else. Close down the cafeteria, close down the teaching centers, every conference room. We just had to put people in areas other than their offices with a bathroom. We had to come up with almost 107 extra rooms in a matter of hours. Okay, so we got the space by God's grace. And then we wondered, okay, so now we have the space, we need beds because the patients can't sleep on the floors. We bought beds, went on the internet, found beds, because by now all the contracted companies, they were sold out. There was nothing that they could help us with. You know how people are, once they realize that there is a demand, then they start putting up their prices. There was price gouging all over the place. We were paying thousands of dollars for beds. We eventually found some beds, some part of the United States, that they said, okay, you want 85 beds? Then you're going to have to pay triple price. We paid the price, we bought the beds in. Then we wondered, okay, so we have the space, we have the beds, we need staffing. And that's where I just couldn't even open my mouth anymore. I kept praying, I kept chanting my songs. People think I was going crazy. And then I eventually started looking around for staffing. And there was one company that really came through for us. I said to them, hey, can you send me 50 nurses? It was crazy. He said, sure, why not? We have nurses, we could make it happen. I said, yeah, but I want it in 1 week. In 1 week, I had 50 nurses and 50 nurses and 10 respiratory therapists coming in. Of course, we had to find place for them, feed them, greet them, onboard them with some quick learning experience, and we made it happen. So I did that because it was out of an abundance of caution for my team. I did not want my team to fall apart due to burnout. I did not want them to contract the diseases. And then we are left, in a hole wondering what to do. And I also knew at that same time that schools were shut down and their children were at home. So there were three things I had to take into consideration for my staff. So I stood the grind. I spent the money that we didn't really have. And I stood up to the rest of my leadership team and I said, we have to do this. We have to support our co-workers. We don't call them employees. We call them co-workers because we look at them as being on the battlefield with us. And that's where we started. When the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, the first patient came in we actually had the first person in Suffolk County to come into the hospital. I was at home. They made the call. I said, you know what? I'll be there. I put on some clothes and I came out. A couple of the other leadership team came out and we just surrounded the nurse. We said our silent meditation with them and watched that nurse walk into the battlefield. That was the first patient. And soon after we had, I think our maximum at any given time was in the 30s. I'm the chief nursing officer. And if I can tell you, my responsibility is really in the background. I have to develop strategic plans. I have to define nursing practice. I have to make sure that I support the collaboration of all the extra staff, such as medical staff, senior leadership. Most of what I do kind of keeps me in the office because there is so much to do. I'm forever going over policies and trying to update policies and standards of care. Well, all that soon came to an end and I put on some scrubs and I got on the battlefield with my staff. I decided I had to lead by example. I could not sit down and go through the fear. I was fearful because nobody knew what this pandemic was about. We were not sure about the disease, the trajectory of the disease. We just had to face it head on because we wanted to save lives. One of my things in my office, one of my plaques in my office, you can't see it here, but it says, "Let your faith be bigger than your fears." I came in, I read it, and I went out there. I held the hands of my coworkers, and I said, we could do this. I know you're scared. I know that we don't know how this disease is spread. We didn't know, and it kept changing every day. Whether it's droplets, it's airborne, it's contact. We were not sure. In the beginning, we were dressing up like we were going to the moon because we were trying to cover every orifice on our bodies, including our hair. And I had to hold people's hands, and I was fine. I said, God, if this is how I'm going to die, then you ordained this for me. I ask you to lead me, and I will follow you. So we went in there, we saved lives. I have to tell you that our mortality rate was significantly lower than many of even the bigger systems. We were somewhere around 20 to 30% mortality rate. And by the end, when we were going down, like somewhere in mid-April, May, June, we started doing antibody testing. At that time, we found out that only 5% of our staff were exposed. That was a blessing. That was enormous. We had no loss of life. We had fewer than at the peak of the pandemic. We had fewer than 10 people in the hospital, not just nurses, that contracted the disease, and many of them would attest to the fact that they did not receive the disease in the hospital. It was contracted outside of the hospital, and they knew who they got it from. This is such a testament to the way that we protected our staff, our co-workers. Our PPEs were always, in a sufficient and adequate supply. Our community, they helped us. We were overwhelmed with support from our community. They helped us with PPEs. They bought ventilators for us. We started off with, it's a small hospital. We had maybe like 20 ventilators to start off, 2021. And by the time we were finished, we had like 40 ventilators. So we got help from the community. We got food every day, 3 meals a day from the community. We had clothes, shoes, pocketbooks. They just kept sending gifts to make our staff feel acknowledged and feel that indeed they were helping, save the lives of the community. There were stones painted all around the hospital. You coming in and just imagine your eyes catch a small stone that says, thank you, or we appreciate you. Be the change you want to be. It was significant. Every single day we were cheered on by members of our community and by other staff members who were not actively on the battlefield. In my leadership, I always say, and if you are on board, I cannot see your writing. I can't see it. But for those of you who are listening out there and are nurses, I want you to bring up the 5 C's. There are 5 C's that you can incorporate in your management or your leadership skills that would encourage your staff, if you have staff or co-workers, to be on track with you. If you can think of any C's, please put it in the box so that Dr. Woode would be, she would know that you are on board with us. I'm not seeing anything yet. I'm going to go ahead, seeing that time is running out. My 5 C's of my leadership that I incorporate every day is, first of all, competence. I need to show competence, and I need to pick people with competence. And I encourage them and give them ways to keep their competency. The second thing I do every day is to encourage them. So I give them a lot of courage and a lot of confidence. We have to be careful how much we touch people because of the sexual harassment program that we entered into. But I constantly, keep giving them a nice pat on the back and say, you're doing the right thing. You're on the right path. Thank you for what you did yesterday. Oh, this patient really sent a good report about you. Thank you. So I show them acknowledgement. I give them encouragement to build their confidence. I also communicate freely and openly. I'm transparent. My leadership is transparent. And I try to keep them abreast of the developing, especially now when things are changing so frequently. So I communicate with them all the time. I collaborate with people who can help us, with the doctors, the respiratory therapists. Tonight, one of the things I'm doing downstairs, which I have to run back to, is I kept people over tonight because of a blizzard that is happening now. And I went out, I ordered food for everyone. I just didn't say it's for nursing. So by collaborating and sharing with other people that are not directly involved in nursing, it helps to build that partnership and that bridge of support. And the last thing I do every day is to show commitment. I am committed, and I want my staff and my coworkers to also commit to the excellence that we're expecting from them. So just the last thing I want to say, and I know I'm out of time, for those of the nurses out there, I want to remind you that in everything we do, we have to think about the nursing process. So the nursing process tells us to use the data, collect data, analyze that data, or to assess the data. Then we do interventions, we evaluate, and then we repeat. Okay? So that is the nursing process has helped me outside of my nursing life. I try to stay abreast of what is happening, collect all the data, even data of myself, to check in on myself to see how I'm doing. Am I, what is happening in my life? Am I reaching my goals? Am I overdoing it? Stop. Give yourself a rest. Give yourself a break so that I could take care of my immune system, especially, and allow me to be the best that I can be to others. Here in this hospital, we have massages for all our staff. We have a dance break. We have song breaks. We do a lot of team challenges to help to boost them, mentally, spiritually, and otherwise. There's a group of us that meet together and we pray and we commune and we discuss our lesson studies for the day and share all our, about our help from God and the way that He is really keeping us in order to help us, to achieve our goals. And this is something that I attribute back to my upbringing. We always know that God is our sustenance. He is for us in times of, trouble. And this pandemic has just proven that once again. So thank you for the time. I could go on and on to say a lot about nursing and about how, our team really make the grade. But I know that I have to cut it short. So if there is any questions out there, I'll be happy to respond.
Well, Althea, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. You really have been more like a general than a nurse. You
Definitely.
really have been on the battlefield. You all have had to be innovative. The things you talked about, I never would have thought that that's something you had to deal with. Imagine trying to essentially repurpose people's offices as patient rooms.
Yeah.
I just, the things you shared have been eye-opening. You mentioned a couple of things that resonated with me. You talk about your leadership skills, the way you've led your team, showing the competence, encouraging them, showing your own commitment, and leading by leading by example.
Example. Mhm.
Exactly. And that's something we as leaders always have to be cognizant of. One thing that shone through as you shared with us was the importance of your faith. So I think that came through loud and clear,
Yes.
that as you do your job every day, your faith is important to you. And that has been a source of strength. So we
Amen.
appreciate you sharing that aspect with us as well.
Thank
Um, you talked about being flexible, and you being flexible and your team having to be flexible and adaptable. And these are, as they say, unprecedented times
Yep.
where you have to take unprecedented actions.
Yeah.
Do you have a few minutes for questions?
Sure, I do.
I know you said, I know you've got this blizzard situation that you're dealing with.
I have a nice strong team, so I left them, to take care of different things. So
Okay.
I have time.
Okay, good.
They really wanted to be here tonight on this, but it didn't.
Well, maybe another time
Sure.
we'll try and make another opportunity. But you mentioned mental health. Can you expound on that a little bit more? Maybe share some of the mental health challenges that you and the team face during this time.
So so I have good news and bad news. One, the good news first. We have a case management and social work team. Their duty, they were assigned to be the mental health team. What we observed, though, is that during the crisis, especially the peak of the crisis, they were not utilized. The nurses, when we asked them, we were doing like a lessons learned, getting some feedback for the first wave. They all said they had no way of opening up to discuss what they were feeling because they just couldn't understand what they were going through. So they did not utilize the team. What they did, we continued the massages, we continued music therapy for them. Especially during the day, we would dedicate some music to, let's say, a particular team, the respiratory team, the lab, respiratory lab, nursing, physicians. We found a way to dedicate songs to these special teams, and they really enjoyed that. Another way that they that helped to boost their mental spirit, whenever a patient was upgraded, we used different songs. For example, when a patient was extubated, we played a song for that. I think we were playing Just Breathe, Just Breathe. And then there was another song when they were being discharged. We were playing the sun come out tomorrow. Just see the sunlight. I can't remember the songs right now. But for every time they heard the songs started up, they felt refreshed and felt that they did something to help. But it was amazing. It was shocking that they did not utilize the help that they were given, for the mental health. But we know now what to do.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're going through a traumatic experience, you're just trying to get through it. You're
True.
not really taking the time to process it.
Mhm.
And that may in part explain why those services weren't utilized.
Right.
So as we are wrapping up, tell me, what can the general population do to help support nurses?
So,
or to make their job a little bit easier?
I think that's a trick question, but I think the population first need to understand that nurses are human beings as well. Even though we train them, It's nursing 101 when we say, leave your worries at the door. You are here to help people. You're not here to make them worse, you're here to make them better. But human beings, as we are, we still come in with some leftover quarrel or leftover your children behaving. They have the same pressures as everybody face. And when you come in, to see them, don't be too judgmental. We've been taught not to judge people, but somehow that is the first thing that comes to nurses. Give them a break. And sometimes when you say a kind word to them, it helps them to relax and to just be themselves and to give off more of themselves to you. So I tell the public that give the nurses a break sometimes and just be kind.
Yes, yes, yes. I think the theme is kindness.
Yes.
You said I asked you a trick question. Maybe I was asking a leading question. I was hoping you would say that the public can help nurses by doing their best to stay out of the hospital.
So that's true. And it is we say that when we off duty. I have to tell you, when I'm home and I'm listening to everything, we're saying those people put their mask on or stop gathering. But when we're in the hospital on duty, I have not heard a nurse say, oh, they're here because they didn't listen, or they're here because they didn't behave. It's actually the last thing on the active nurse mind. Because they forget about that. They see someone struggling to breathe. Let's just get on board. We do it. But when you're out of the environment, then we have a chance to process and say, oh, what's wrong with people? But they should really do their part.
Okay.
It's true. I see people say the pandemic is not real. I don't know where they live, but it is real. And people should try to stay healthy, take their vitamins, be faithful, keep us a cheerful disposition, and stay home.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's awesome. Althea, thank you. Wear your mask. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us and challenging other nurse leaders to lead as you have, leading by example and providing the support that the nurses are in dire need of.
Yes.
We've got a couple of challenges we would like the audience to participate in. So the first thing I'd like for the audience to commit to do is, as Nurse Althea said, be kind to the nurses. When they're trying to help you, be grateful for what they're offering you, be grateful for how they're serving you, be grateful for their sacrifice. And the other thing I'd like for us to commit to is, it's the Christmas season, it's the time of giving, to give a special gift to the nurses in your life this year. So maybe that looks like, Althea mentioned they were offering massages to their staff, maybe a gift card for massage services. Of course, done carefully, done safely, but a gift card for massage services. Something else that can help pamper nurses, manicures, pedicures, gift cards, maybe iTunes for someone who may like music. So different gift cards that gonna help show nurses how much we appreciate them, particularly at this time. Also, perhaps offering them things could help boost their immune system. They're on the front lines, and so we want to make sure that they are protected. Fruit baskets, or perhaps enrolling them in a Fruit of the Month club. All of these are great gifts which the nurses in your life would appreciate. Now, tomorrow, one of our, we have two gifts that we're going to be offering tomorrow. We've got another gift card, and we have a supplement called Oxygen Immune Boost. And we're talking about helping nurses and helping people in general boost their immune system. So I want you to take a look at this brief video talking about immune boost. D and zinc in terms of helping to build our immune system, and there's CBD that helps to fight inflammation. So if you'd like to hear more information about the immune boost, go to the Team Destiny Events website and click on Boost Your Immunity. But that will be a gift for one of our lucky audience members tomorrow evening. So be sure to come back tomorrow and register, share the information, and engage with us to be eligible to win either the gift card or the immune boost tomorrow evening. Our gift card for tonight, that wellness spa gift card, will be awarded tomorrow. And once again, that's going to be based on registration and participation. So we've had a great time this evening. It was a great way to kick off our challenge. Nurse Althea, thank you so much for that information, for just sharing with us real experiences. I have to tell you, I got a little bit emotional as you were sharing about what you all have experienced. I'm happy and relieved that you've not experienced any loss of life in terms of the nursing staff at your hospital. But you know, we also want to thank our sponsors once again this evening for helping to bring this program to life. We've got the Running Nurse, we've got Diabetes and Endocrine Wellness Center, and the Lighter Way. So if you've learned a lot tonight, be sure to come out tomorrow evening when infectious disease specialist Dr. Ryan Simon will be sharing about COVID-19 transmission and prevention. Remember to share the information with all of the nurses in your life, but not just nurses, because this information is helpful to everyone. So share the information, use the hashtags Team Destiny, Immunity Boost, and Year of the Nurse. And we will see you back tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central, live on Facebook and YouTube. Have a good evening, and we will see you tomorrow night.